Merry Christmas, and welcome to this online service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Waynesboro for Sunday, December 25th, 2022. My name is Kay Yost, and I'm a member of our worship arts team that assists in planning and organizing our Sunday services. Today, it is my great joy to wish you a Merry Christmas in this recorded format. I hope some of you were able to attend our Christmas Eve service last night, or perhaps the holiday potluck dinner earlier this month that were both held in person in our fellowship hall. This is such a busy time of year, filled with activities and celebrations with family and friends, and it often feels to me like there aren't enough hours in the day. Therefore, those of us on the worship arts team hope you will enjoy watching this online service at your convenience. Don't forget that next Sunday is New Year's Day, and that too will be a recorded service on YouTube. I look forward to seeing you next year in person for Sunday services beginning January the 8th. If you're a visitor here, I want to welcome you and thank you for spending time with us in this online format and invite you to come visit us in person here in Waynesboro, Virginia. For additional information about the fellowship, you can visit our website at uufw.org. Contact information and details on how to donate are also provided at the end of this video. I now share these words for the lighting of the chalice. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our power, to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of love.
Our words of prayer this morning are my own words. North, south, east, and west, perhaps an angel visible ahead of me, angels hidden by forests around me, and everywhere, God, if that's how your heart experiences the world, everywhere value and truth and worth. Angels created by our ingenuity, desire, and prayers. Angels imagined in concrete absence, and a deep, stirring call to me, to us, to be the angel, to be the angels the world needs, to be the angel the person near us needs, to give the message of hope, to stay the hand of carelessness or evil. God, when the hill we are climbing in the snow at the end of a long day feels desolate, or when the desert dune we are crossing at noonday in the heat shows us no angel towering over us, giving us shade, embolden us. Grant strength of resolve, teach us to be messengers of peace, bearers of good tidings, protectors of those unable to protect themselves, people who create a path of security and sufficiency where their voice and their leadership brings us to a more just world. God, teach us to be the angel. This is a congregation which, when we are together, has a tradition of sharing our personal joys and sorrows so that others can support and can reflect back what is needed by the individual sharing. And in the absence of our face-to-face meeting, we hold these joys and sorrows unspoken in our hearts together in a time of silence.
Hi everybody, Bill Harouff here. Merry Christmas to you. I want to tell you about a Christmas that I spent a long time ago, back in 1950. One or two of you might not even have been born in 1950. I was 7 years old. I was in the second grade, and Mom and Dad told me we were going to be spending Christmas over at Grandma and Granddaddy's in Bath County, and I was a little concerned that maybe Santa Claus wouldn't know where I was, but they assured me it'd be okay. So we left on Friday evening as soon as Dad got off from work, headed across those three mountains between here and McDowell, you know them, and then we turned south toward Bath County. Now, I always got sick going across those mountains, and that day was no exception. So anyway, lost my lunch, but I was ready for supper when we got to Grandma's. Played the next day, and then that night we went to church for the service that they had in the evening, and I felt the beginnings of a sore throat, but I didn't think too much about it. Woke up the next morning, though, I was one sick puppy, I want you to know. They put me on the couch and covered me up with a blanket, and they handed out the presents, and I got some little things, and then I got these three boxes. I got a round box, and I got a rectangular box, and I got a square box. The round box, that was my Roy Rogers cowboy hat that I requested, and the rectangular box, that was my Roy Rogers shirt with the French on the front and all that good stuff. And that square box, that was my electric train. All little boys had to get an electric train back in those days, and I got it, but I was too sick to play with it. Great Uncle Mac and Aunt Martha came up from Warm Springs, and Uncle Mac had a great time with the train, but I didn't get to play with it. We left earlier than we'd planned to, since I wasn't feeling well. We headed on home, got home, and by the next day, it turned out it must have been one of those 24-hour bugs, because I felt fine the next day, and I took the train up to my room, set it up, and had a great time with it. And pretty soon, I got thinking, I need a piece of plywood to put it on, and I need some more cars maybe. And it was a passenger train, and I sure could have used a freight train. That would have been nice. And maybe some more cars, and some buildings, and some trees, and a station, and on and on and on. But those requests fell on deaf ears with Mom and Dad. So I never got anything other than just my one train. But now that I've gotten a little bit older, I've got my own train, by golly. And one of these days, when the house is clean enough that Lorraine will, or when the basement's clean enough that Lorraine will let people in there, I'm going to invite you all over for an open house, and I'll show it to you. Merry Christmas.
It was the summer of 2016 in New Zealand, when we had our first Christmas away from home.
And our first summertime Christmas in the Antipodes.
Yeah. So we were on a working holiday.
A special visa for people under 30 who want to work and travel.
And we were working in exchange for room and board at a backpackers, a hostel, on the very southern tip of the country in Invercargill. And we were working for a young family. Mm-hmm. It's Joe and Julia.
And their kids.
Nina, Anton, Baby.
A.k.a. Jacob. His real name was Jacob, but everyone called him Baby because he was one.
So we were painting the inside of the
very small hostel.
Yeah. Doing some babysitting, gardening here and there. But we had gotten really close with the family during our time.
Yeah, we'd celebrated birthdays with them, gone out to eat, babysat the kids a lot of times, and taking the kids to the park.
So Christmas morning, first thing we did, I guess, well, they probably got up and did their own presents and stuff, but we had decorated a tree and put it up
with the kids
on our side of
yeah, the family lived in a house
hostel.
behind the hostel. Anyway, they came over in the morning and we had set up a scavenger hunt for the kids. Jacob wasn't able to participate because he was a baby and he was still crawling. But Nina and Anton were pretty excited, and we set up a scavenger hunt that took them all over the hostel grounds, and it ended in chocolate chip cookies.
Yes.
And that was really thrilling to experience that secondhand. I think that's the first Christmas that we've had together that we spent with children, so that was like really fun to see through their eyes.
And so we had a big Christmas lunch with everyone, and since we were vegetarian, they tapped us to help cook eggplant parmesan.
And there were only 2 other people staying in the hostel at that time because it was technically closed for the holidays, and that was Natasha, a Swiss-German backpacker, and Rita, who was a young Chinese woman who was also working in the hostel for room and board.
And so we all we spent a couple hours fixing stuff up in the communal kitchen, and had a big lunch with the family. And then after that, we all walked to the park because it was a nice sunny day, and hung out. Kids played on the swings.
And it was really nice because that was our first Christmas away from home for either of us, really. And it didn't really feel lonesome at all. It was like we had, our found family, our little Invercargill family. And I think that's kind of indicative of one of our favorite things about travel, which is just like how quickly you make connections with like-minded people and how easy it is to, I don't know, find a sense of community, even when it's somebody that you've only known for like a few weeks or something. Really brief but intense friendships. Merry Christmas.
Within the shining of a star, we catch a glimpse of who we are. In every infant born we see
Okay, Dad. It's time to talk about your Christmas memory.
All right, honey. Just a second. I'm getting the tree together.
All right. Hey, Dad. It's time to talk about your Christmas tradition.
Okay, let me just get the lights up before it rains.
All right, Dad. Can you tell your story now?
Cookies. My family didn't exactly have Christmas traditions that I recall, but my mother recently reminded me of something we did on more than one Christmas, and it was a special thing for us. My mother and father would take my younger sisters and I out Christmas shopping. And I don't really recall anything about what we received or what I got, but it was kind of the experience of doing it. So I and maybe a younger sister would go with my one parent, my father, and then other sisters would go with my mother, and then we would meet up somewhere at a prearranged time, because back in those days we didn't have cell phones and we didn't know exactly where each other was at all times. So you have to prearrange this meeting, and then we would switch off. We would switch parents, and we would shop for the ones whoever wasn't with us, in the other car is the ones we would be shopping for. And then we would hide our gifts in the trunk. And then at the end of this evening, we would all go out to eat, which was also special because we would go out and get fast food.
Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly, and then my soul will sing a song of blessed song of love eternal, gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to me. Darkness, soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me, and then my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness, when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me.
A Blessing Called Sanctuary by Jan Richardson. You hardly knew how hungry you were to be gathered in, to receive the welcome that invited you to enter entirely. Nothing of you found foreign or strange, nothing of your life that you were asked to leave behind or carry in silence or in shame. Tentative steps became settling in, leaning into the blessing that enfolded you, taking your place in the circle that stunned you with its unimagined grace. You began to breathe again, to move without fear, to speak with abandon the words you carried in your bones that echoed in your being. You learned to sing. But the deal with this blessing is that it will not leave you alone, will not let you linger in safety, in stasis. The time will come when this blessing will ask you to leave, not because it is tired of you, but because it desires for you to become the sanctuary that you found, to speak your word into the world, to tell what you have heard with your own ears, seen with your own eyes, known in your own heart, that you are the beloved, precious child of God, beautiful to behold, and you are welcome, and more than welcome here.
Back in December 2009, I found myself on several successive evenings following link to YouTube videos of Austrian and German boys' choirs, binging, if you will, on this specific approach to choral music that is more visible around the winter holidays. the Vienna choir boys, the Tölzer boys' choir, and others, the crystal clear, juvenile, but trained voices of such established boys' choirs are thrilling to hear. I went deep down that rabbit hole that December, mostly just enjoying the concerts and the voices, and then I came to a video from Bad Tölz in Bavaria, with the boys accompanied by hammered dulcimer, harp, and guitar singing in an Austrian regional dialect, the song that you just heard as a guitar solo, Es wird scho gleich dumpa. It is a Christmas carol that is in the form of a lullaby sung to the baby in the manger. It will soon be dark. Night soon will fall. I come to you, my stirring Savior. I want to sing a chorus for you, dear little one. You don't want to sleep. I hear you whimper. Hush-a-bye, lullaby, sleep sweetly, dearest child. And so on, multiple verses. I didn't have a strong enough grasp on the dialect that it would fall on my ears with the same ease as, say, listening to a Bach oratorio in standard German. But the lullaby, the melody, and the harmonies swept me away. I listened to it over and over. In those years, I was a member of an online poetry writing community in which each week we received a prompt from published poets, in response to which most of us then wrote a draft poem to be read and gently critiqued by the group. I forget what the prompt was that week, but in my mind it pretty quickly merged with this lullaby, with the framing myths of much of Western culture, and with the seasonal drama that I have in my family, and I imagine some of you have in yours too. Drama which sometimes causes my family to come close and sometimes to push me away. You know, not unusual holiday stuff, but with a lot of emotional weight for me. My poem that week emerged from those images and challenges. I finished it and I published it on my blog on Christmas Eve. At intervals we return. We seek our family, our origins. We shove past angels with flaming swords, looking for Eden, derelict paradise, a worn-out savanna of toxic fruits, replaced in thin memory by apples and figs and pears and pomegranates bursting with fecundity and lust, exploding with promises long since broken. Ay, sleep sweetly, my sorrowful love child. Sleep sweetly, my heart's deepest longing. Sleep against my breast. May you see no evil and do your best. At intervals we return. We search for that first schoolhouse demolished many years ago, yet not long. We look for that green playing field where we learned to trust and to bluff, where we learned we were good at the game, or that we were useless, pitiful players. We seek again some smoky, mystic mount where our purpose first appeared, where we drank burnt, bitter gold. Ay. Sleep sweetly, my sorrowful love. Child, sleep sweetly. Deepest longing, sleep in my protecting arms. May you hear no evil and escape all harm. At intervals we return. We stand on a hilltop looking for a star. Comets rarely appear. Miracles, it seems, never do, yet we seek. We stand on cliffs looking up. We stand there ever gazing into heaven, awaiting a salvation that seems never to come. A redemption we will not understand. Mercies we may not deserve and cannot afford. Mercies we need not for ourselves, but our children. Ay, sleep sweetly, my sorrowful love child. Sleep sweetly, child, lying in the stable. May you speak no evil, do good as you're able. Christmas isn't my holiday. My parents were always ambivalent about it, both despite and because of their fundamentalist form of Christianity. And I personally left the religion of my upbringing several decades ago, tied up in challenges of theology and science and family estrangements. I'm a Hanukkah person through and through. Yet, Christmas intertwines with so much that is moving and personally challenging for me. Questions of displacement and rejection in a story that is deeply accepting. Until she died, my grandmother hosted literally all of the holiday events of our extended family in her home. So when my older brother and I both came out as gay within the same year, she banned us from attending all of those family events, effectively kicking us out of the family. The bough broke and the cradle fell. We were no longer able to join in my family gatherings, so Walter and I chose to do international travel during the holidays. We took great pleasure in those trips, going to places we might otherwise never have visited. In 1993, we were in Cordoba, Spain at Christmas time. If you've ever been in Spain on Christmas Eve, you know what a deserted city looks like. Everything is closed. Everyone is home, seemingly, with family, if they have family to go to. No shops, no restaurants open. The city streets are dead. 17 years later, I reflected on that night in Cordoba in a poem. We wandered through deserted streets, jewelers and grocers all closed. Galvanized against rust and corruption, garage doors rolled shut across glass shop fronts, padlocked to granite curbstones. Through the Juderia, the medieval Jewish quarter, deserted as after the Reconquista, Columbus on his way to a new world, Spain spreading plague in one hemisphere, forcing conversion or else dispossessing Hispania's oldest ethnic group, sending them into exile in the other hemisphere. The past is never past. We search without luck for some place to eat, strangers in this Christian city on Christmas Eve. At last, perhaps the only place open in the city that Holy Eve, we step into a tiny bar, ask for food, and all they have is bread, cheese, sardines, and olives. The Romany bar keeps cigarette-stained hands cut and slice and draw sherry from the barrel. Our simple feast for this blessed day. Outsiders we in this bastion of a hard history, eating our manger feast. That night in Cordoba, this night of treasured, joyful memory, I realized what the ancient story conveys. A family, a holy family, not a perfect one. A birth, a messy but holy birth. A child, a holy child, all set in the most undesirable location. Babe in a feeding trough with the waste of livestock steaming odoriferously nearby, because that's what it's like in a barn that actually houses animals. And then the shepherds who had been out in the fields without a bath for several weeks appear and bring the joy of acceptance. The suddenness, the unexpectedness of shepherds, a little dirty, bringing joy to the smelly stable. The ancient stories are not comfortable, beautiful stories of beautiful people with power and resources doing beautiful things in beautiful places. They are stories of displaced people relegated to the barn with the beasts, suddenly shown great joy by others, equally distant from mattering to the people who were somebody. Amid the challenges and sorrows you may face, I wish you a joyful Christmas of acceptance, love, and grace. And if you cannot join in a holiday banquet, may your manger feast still bring the blessing of acceptance and a place to come in out of the cold and be fed. Merry Christmas. Amen. And blessed be.